Hello and welcome to today's presentation. I'm Diane Okonski, President of the Icelandic National League of the United States, and I'm very happy you're able to join us this evening. Before we get started, I just have a couple of our normal logistical items. As attendees to the program, you are on mute, but we welcome your questions. So to submit a question, just click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're on a tablet or a phone, that button may be in an upper right-hand corner, or you may have to swipe to another page to find it. But don't let that stop you. We will answer as many questions as possible during the course of tonight's webinar. Also, the program is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the INLUS website in a few days. So if you want to go back and review it again or share it with friends, please feel free to do so. The INLUS webinars and other programs are only possible with the help of our members and donors. If you are already a member of the INLUS, thank you so much for your support. And if you are not, I encourage you to consider becoming a member. Information on membership may be found at www.inlus.org. Okay, so today we are honored to have with us our friend and author Heidi Herman. Heidi spent more than 30 years in the telecommunications industry, becoming one of the most skilled cost management consultants in the country. She later applied her expertise in entrepreneurship, first in a successful multi-location restaurant, and later in a boutique publishing company. She has authored 7 books in 5 genres, most recently the motivational book On with the Butter, Spread More Living into Everyday Life. Today, she still writes, does motivational speaking, travels, and has a variety of hobbies. Heidi cherishes her Icelandic heritage passed down from her mother. She loves to travel, sharing her Icelandic culture and her books. When she's not on the go, which is not very often, she is usually found cooking up something in the kitchen. And if you follow Heidi on Facebook, you will know that she is quite an accomplished cook and baker. And we are very pleased to have her with us tonight. So welcome, Heidi. You are such a busy woman. Your most recent book, On with the Butter, was published in 2020, but you haven't really sat still since then, have you? So tell us what you've been doing.
Oh, thank you, Diane. That was such a nice intro. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're right. We stay so busy traveling to all the different events. Pre-COVID, it seemed so much busier because we all had the festivals and events to go to. But once COVID kicked in, all of a sudden, I spent so much more time writing and cooking and playing with different things. And once that whole thing was over, I was so happy to get back to normalcy and get back to some of the festivals. Many of the members of INLUS are probably familiar with my mother, Ida Jónasdóttir, and she was the one who really started my whole journey of writing with her memoir and growing up in Iceland. And it was our first book together that was actually a cookbook, little one. It had 25 recipes of what she considered to be those home style Icelandic recipes that she really remembered her grandma making or her great grandmother making. She really wanted to share some of those recipes with people. So we did that and did some cooking demonstrations. And it was kind of funny because as much as I like to cook, one of my personal secrets that I'm a lot of times embarrassed about is that I don't like vegetables. I totally do not like vegetables. And it was a joke between my mom and I because she said that was an Icelandic thing. Now, I don't know for sure. I have never verified this. But she said that in Iceland, they considered that to be rabbit food, and you don't eat things that are green and grow out of the dirt. You just don't. Now, she was fine with a rutabaga. So I'm not sure how you get those two things together, but I did find it when we worked on the cookbook that was a lot of what I had to research. Is I kind of questioned, really, how did early Icelanders, especially Viking age, or even throughout the 1800s, how did people stay healthy without having access to vegetables? And did they really have good nutrition? A lot of it really surprised me because there's so much good nutrition that people get from dairy, from and I'm gonna refer to some of my notes that I have written off to the side. Um, Rutabaga and cabbage are two of the most common, that even going all the way back to Viking age, rutabaga and cabbage, along with carrots, are core staples that have been in the diet. And I, for one, was very surprised to find out that rutabaga can actually give you more than 100% of your daily allowance of vitamin C, which is crazy for a vegetable. But in the Scandinavian diet, especially in Iceland, fish is also so much a part of it. And there's so much great nutrition in fish that they really kind of meet all those nutritional requirements. So fast forward, in America today, that is not something, especially growing up in the Midwest, that's not something I have eaten a whole lot of growing up. We didn't do fish. We did a lot of hamburger and chicken and things like that. So as I've gone through the cookbook process, and then in 2020, when I finished On with the Butter, one of the things that I realized in that is that nutrition is such an important part of growing old, as much as keeping your mind active, keeping your body active, finding interesting things to do. And I actually wrote a chapter in On with the Butter on using food to incorporate more activity in your life, such as going to a farmer's market and picking out a new vegetable that you haven't tried before, or that you're somewhat unfamiliar with cooking, and then making it an event that you can try different recipes, invite people over to a dinner party. You can incorporate food into activity and learning in a really fun way. And that is one thing that I decided to work on in my own life, because I once had someone tell me when I was in my 20s and in one of my first business meetings, followed by a luncheon, and I had a very strange order. You know, you want this, but no tomato, no lettuce, no. No. And they looked at me and they said, "You kind of have the palate of a toddler." And that has stuck with me for so long. And until finally, I just kind of had to own it, because I was not being any successful at getting past that. And I finally just had to own the fact that, yeah, maybe I have the palate of a toddler, but I am an adult. I want to be healthy. So I want to eat healthy vegetables. I want to eat kale and spinach and carrots and onions and leeks and all these great vegetables that are so good for you. It's become very fashionable lately to take a supplement for some of the great superfoods or vegetables. It seems like every time I turn on the television or hear something on the radio, somebody wants me to buy a supplement with beets in there. And beets, that was one that I had never worked with before. The past couple of years when I started really experimenting, beets are actually so easy to incorporate into so many things that I can't imagine taking a prepared supplement that has who knows what extra ingredients in there when I can work with the real thing. So I have been kind of doing this for my own benefit. And it came about that last fall, I had the opportunity to go to the Writers Convention in Denver that I go to every year. It's the Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers. And I was pitching an agent one of my new novels. And the particular agent that I was looking for didn't have any openings, but another agent that I actually recognized her as being kind of a leader. She was a very impressive agent, and she was specifically looking for cookbooks. I thought, well, I can pitch this. And so I met with her and I pitched this idea, and she was instantly intrigued and signed me. So this will actually be my first book, the one I'm working on now, that I will not independently publish. Everything before this has been Icelandic inspired and Icelandic folklore. My mom's memoir of growing up in Iceland, our Icelandic cookbook, all those are published from Hekla Publishing, which is our Icelandic inspired print house. And we've got 12 titles there. But this one I thought would be a really good one to go a little bit broader. I will always know that this was inspired by Iceland and my particular palette that I will always say is my Icelandic influence. And these are things that I wanted to share. And once we started working on it, we realized that it's not just people who don't like vegetables that might benefit from a cookbook like this. There's also a large number of people that when you get older, your palate does kind of change and your tastes change. And I've had a number of people that I've shared these recipes with that have elderly parents and some that are dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's. They find it very difficult to get them to eat balanced meals and to eat enough vegetables. And it's really cool to be able to incorporate some of these in ways that you can't ever taste that they're there. So we've had a lot of fun with that. So to share these, I've started a newsletter to share some of these recipes monthly. We've been working on a YouTube channel to record many of these recipes and share with people how to make them and in step by step. And what I found is I've divided it into two separate areas. So I have some core recipes of how to make pureed spinach or how to take fresh beets and puree them and juice them and have them ready to put into larger recipes. So once you have your puree done, you can have beet donuts. You can incorporate beets into chocolate brownies or cake. It goes very well into spaghetti sauces, a lot of different things, depending on how adventurous you are in your colors of food. I've also used things like spinach puree in Salisbury steak, or incorporated again into spaghetti sauce, which many of us do. And having it into enchiladas or breads. An interesting one that I've worked with is kohlrabi. And that one was definitely inspired by my mom when she was going through her 93 new things when she was 93 years old, because anyone who knew her would say that she was incredibly vivacious and active. And anytime we were in an event, people would ask her, oh my goodness, what is your secret? How do you stay this active? And how do you do all these different things? She never felt comfortable giving an answer. And she told me privately so many times. And she said, it's embarrassing. I don't want to tell people what the secret is because I think it's my Viking blood. And I would always laugh. And she never wanted to say that because if she was talking to somebody who didn't happen to be of Scandinavian descent, maybe they wouldn't have that same Viking blood and they wouldn't be able to do what she did. So she didn't want to make anybody feel bad. So I personally think if all of us go back far enough in our family tree, we're bound to find some Vikings. So I think there's got to be at least a few drops of Viking blood in everybody. So we can all embrace that vitality. And as part of that 93 things, she wanted to encourage people to stay active and do new things, active in spirit, active physically, active mentally. And as part of that, one of the things that she did was try kohlrabi. And I don't think I had ever even really heard of kohlrabi before then. But she had gone with one of my nieces to a farmer's market and picked up some kohlrabi. And it was a very odd looking vegetable. And I think they steamed it. But I did some research on it and I discovered it's actually in the turnip family. So I put together a couple of different experiments and ended up pairing it with a nice almond flavor in a snack bread and made it a little sweet. So there's nothing wrong with a little sweet. If I can get my daily dose of vegetable in something that's sweet, I am totally all about it. So that has been something really fun for me. And kind of going through all of this, I'm checking my notes here. Being able to understand the importance of nutrition and share that with people has been a really big part of this for me. It's not just deep down, we know we need to eat healthy. And sometimes it's one of those things like, oh, yeah, I know I need to get 8 hours sleep. Oh, yeah, I know I need to reduce my stress level. I know I need to exercise. I know I need to eat healthy. But to actually make practical changes in your life that can help you on the path to actually achieving that and living those goals, those are things that you can actually make progress towards. So when I say I want to eat healthier, I really need a plan because it's not going to happen that one day I'm going to go to the grocery store and buy a bag of spinach and just in my mind say, yes, I'm going to steam the spinach and eat it. It's not going to happen. But if I can steam it and puree it and keep it portioned and frozen in the freezer, and when I'm making something, I can pull that out and add that into something that I'm making anyway, and it's still going to taste like the original thing I was making and not make it taste like I'm eating a bowl of steamed spinach, then I've got a shot at actually making progress on that. And it's the same thing if we want to take a half-hour walk. Well, maybe that's going to start out by doing a block after dinner. Maybe you're going to work up to walking for a half hour or doing a mile or doing a 5K race or something. You're always going to start out less than what your goal is if you want to make progress toward it. So working on that, it's been fun. And once I signed with an agent and she's been working with me and encouraging me, I now have 125 recipes for this cookbook. And it's everything from appetizers to main dishes and side dishes and a whole slew of desserts. Lots of breads and muffins because those are my weakness. I'm a carboholic too. But it's a lot of fun. So when you start putting some of that together and realizing that, yes, I can incorporate things, we're all pretty comfortable with things like carrot cake or carrot muffins. But putting like spinach and feta into biscuits for dinner or breakfast or however you want to incorporate it, it can get very unique, especially when you incorporate it in ways that you don't taste it. And that's what's been really fun for me is to figure out what things can go together where one flavor that I find pleasing will overwhelm another flavor that I don't find so pleasing. As I worked on this, we started calling this the tasty vegetable, but the VEGE part of the word is faded out. So it ends up being the tasty table, because we want to put focus on the whole table, not the vegetable part of it. Because like mom would say, the vegetable is not something you're supposed to eat. She would turn up her nose at it. So I can incorporate it in there and not actually taste it, I think that's okay, because I've accepted the fact that I'm never going to learn to like vegetables. So I can incorporate it in there. And as long as I don't taste it, I'm eating healthy. So that's a win. It's a win. But I wanted to take a break and see if we have any questions so far. Because I need.
No, we don't have any yet, but I think that I would get along very well with your mother. And I grew up on a farm where it was meat and potatoes. So we had, potatoes and corn were the two primary vegetables, and then, lettuce and tomatoes in season. But that was, that's about the extent of it. If I'm looking forward to trying to see whether or not you can actually get beets to the point where I can't taste them, because that's not going to be something that's I'm going to eat on my own. So we do have a question that has come in. How did you concept these recipes without knowing what veggies taste like?
How did
you come up with these recipes without knowing what the veggies taste like?
Well, I will be honest. I have attempted many times to eat my vegetables, and I've at least taste tested everything to be able to honestly say I do not like the taste of, and I tried to focus on the healthiest ones. Spinach, yeah, that's a hard no. Kale, I have not been able to come up with any way that I've liked kale. Carrots, I got okay with glazed carrots, but adding lots of sugar and honey to something to eat it, it's like smothering broccoli in cheddar cheese to the point all you can taste is the cheese. It's okay, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So yeah, I've tasted all of them, but the fun part was actually taking something like spinach that I don't like the flavor of, and I don't even like the smell of it when it's steaming, to incorporate that into something that when you eat it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is good. So I puree it, and then I put it into, well, one of my things I put it into is Salisbury steak with a nice onion gravy, lots of brown beefy flavor to it. And I just don't taste the spinach at all. But the one that really surprised me is I found a recipe that I played with and tweaked around for hamburger rolls, an actual fresh yeast dough. They turn out green because there is spinach in there. But it's magical. You cannot taste the spinach at all, and I love them. So yeah, it is kind of fun to suppress both the taste and the smell, because your brain definitely will have an expectation of flavor based on both the sight and the smell.
Very interesting. So how one of the things you mentioned was that I think it was the kohlrabi you paired up with almonds, with the almond flavor. How do you even think of things like that?
As I experiment with different things, and there have been a lot of failed experiments. I mean, there have been some things that, one bite and the whole thing goes in the trash because it's so nasty. But it's like when you get that initial impression of something, for me, my brain kind of goes in a certain way. For instance, Brussels sprouts. No matter how I tried to cook them, that flavor was quite overwhelming. But the other thing I noticed with them is that no matter how long you cook them or what process you use, they will always stay crunchy. And so my brain said, well, crunchy and nutty, okay. So I ended up creating a recipe where I diced them, because I found that the flavor obviously really goes way down when they're teeny tiny pieces. When you eat a whole chunk of something, you get lots of flavor. But if you either puree it or dice it down really fine, that flavor is kind of spread around, so it's not quite so intense. So I have a recipe of Brussels sprouts that are diced and cooked in butter and honey, and then add walnuts to it and put it in with a rice pilaf or a long grain rice. And all of that together ends up being a very crunchy, nutty, sweet rice. And that was kind of the same process that I went through with the kohlrabi. I tried different things in different ways, and there were just certain flavors that kept coming about. I'm like, oof, that's really strong. That's really strong. But then when you stop and think about it, I'm like, well, I'm kind of getting notes of almond and nutmeg, and so I tried to play up that strength. So instead of fighting the flavor, I kind of took it into a different direction. So, but other ones, they just blend really well. When you're saying you don't like beets, I've used beets juiced, and then I incorporate them with a much stronger flavor like strawberries, and I make jam. So beetroot strawberry jam is fabulous. And then you can spread that on, say, zucchini bread. And then you have all kinds of vegetables incorporated.
Uh-huh. So can you tell us a little bit about your newsletter and videos, your YouTube channel?
Yes, yes. The YouTube channel, I have two types of videos up there. Ones that I call core. They're all a minute or less, and they're quick instructional on how to take fresh spinach and puree it, or kale, or how to prepare beets, roasting them. A lot of the vegetables, you don't want to boil vegetables because you're going to lose the nutrition, and the whole point is to put more nutrition in. So beets is one of those that they're a crazy looking vegetable, and it's like, I don't even know what to do with this thing. So I created core recipes that are 1 minute videos on how to prep the vegetables in a way that they can then be incorporated into larger recipes. And then I have the larger recipes on what to do with those cores once you have them done. So with the beets, I have beet donuts, beet jelly, beet brownies, and those are all separated out. So once you kind of go through those, you can have lots of different ideas on what to do with those. The newsletter comes out once a month, and they are printed recipes and also some quick ideas on some other things that you can do to add a little more veggie into different recipes. I've used the first recipe from the April newsletter is a banana muffin with riced cauliflower, which is, in my opinion, fabulous because you can't taste the cauliflower. You're eating just a nice banana muffin, but they're super light and fluffy because cauliflower is one of those that has a lot of rise to it. So I give you the full printed recipe so you can follow that, but also link over to the YouTube channel. So if you'd rather watch a video, you've got that too. In the newsletter, I also include lots of interesting links on the understanding behind this. Why do we want to eat vegetables? Why is it even important? I mean, I know they say they're good for us, but why? Looking at some interesting research that has come out on the importance of antioxidants and the importance of different vitamins and minerals that can help our body, for instance, fight inflammation. Chronic inflammation is one of the key indicators for cancer. So if we really want to reduce our potential for cancer later in life, making sure we are not subjecting ourselves to chronic inflammation, that's huge. And one of the key things that we want to do is make sure we have lots of good antioxidants in our diet. And of course, those come from vegetables. So it's important. And you just can't get that same benefit with a multivitamin. There's just some things that just don't translate. So looking at some of that research and some of the nutritional impacts on brain health, finding ways to reduce the possibility or for dementia and Alzheimer's, staying up on some of that research, it takes forever, but having some of that, I share that in the newsletter. They're short articles, very interesting reads, and I try to connect it with a particular focus on a vegetable per month. For May is National Salad Month, which is fabulous for people who love salad. I think that's wonderful. God love you. I'm not one of those. So I am more inclined to say, okay, so National Salad Month. Okay, I can work with that. That's great. What else can I do with kale? What else can I do with spinach or even lettuce? What other things can I do with salad ingredients besides eating the salad? And that's what I share. The newsletter comes out once a month. The YouTube channel, once it's fully launched, right now we do have 10 videos posted. Unfortunately, I did have shoulder surgery, so I can't use my right arm right now. So my video posting is very, very slow. In 2 more weeks, we will start posting new videos every single Wednesday. So we'll have new content up there, and new newsletters every month.
So how do we sign up for the newsletter, and how do we find your YouTube channel?
We can drop that in the chat, perhaps. I don't know whether I can do that from my phone. It's The Tasty Vegetable, and there is a newsletter sign up on the YouTube channel. Let me see if I can get it into the chat.
And as I was doing some exploring, I found out there is another The Tasty Vegetable out there. But it's The Tasty Vegetable with a number behind it. We want to look at youtube.com/@TheTastyVegetable. And you should see the videos have Heidi's face on them, so you'll know you're at the right place.
All right, let me see if I can get this copied in here. I am, oops. Sorry. I think I just sent it to, I'm gonna try to send it. Yeah. Doug and Diane, I can send to you, but the system won't allow me to send to all the participants.
Yeah, we just got, or one of our members or attendees just sent it to us.
Thank you.
So yes.
Yeah, so at the top, the banner of the YouTube channel, there's a subscribe button there to sign up for the newsletter.
Okay.
And for anybody who's interested, I know that Diane had given you connect to it before, but this one is the cookbook from that my mother and I did of all our Icelandic recipes. And I will be taking some in future videos. I am taking some of these Icelandic recipes and I'm going to do an infusion of vegetables into some of the classic Icelandic recipes, particularly the brown bread, because that is definitely one of my favorites and I make it a lot. I love it. But I think it could be one that would infuse very well with some extra vegetables without changing the flavor too much, because it has such great, strong flavor to it that I think it's going to be a great candidate to add to.
Okay, all right. So when we sign up for your newsletter, is it just entering our email address online on the YouTube? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And I think we have a link to the YouTube channel. And Doug, can we try to bring that up? And at least we may not be able to play any of the videos, but we might be able to at least show the front page.
Yes, give me a second.
Okay, so while he's pulling that up, what's your favorite vegetable? And potatoes and corn don't count.
So you can see our clever little thing when you're saying what's my favorite vegetable. As you can see at the top, it says, if you look at it quick, it says the tasty table, because the vegetable part is faded into the background. That kind of tells you how I feel about most vegetables. I like them faded into the background. But all kidding aside, I have learned to I like Harvard beets. I like asparagus. Of course, corn and potatoes. Beyond that, I don't know if there's an actual vegetable that I would say, oh my goodness, I love that. A lot of it's been a struggle for me. It definitely is something I have to work at. And even the ones that I like asparagus, in small portions.
So what's been your biggest challenge?
Kale. Kale is a tough one for me. I've also struggled with the healthy ones, like the broccoli and the cauliflower. And I remember probably, maybe 15 years ago, I was kind of on a kick of I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. I'm going to learn to like my vegetables. I'm going to eat salad. And I committed to that. And, I went and I bought all these vegetables and, steam them, because everybody says if you steam them, it brings out the natural flavor and you're really going to like it, because you don't like vegetables because you don't make them right. You have to steam them and natural flavor in that. So I had this beautiful bowl of steamed broccoli and cauliflower, and literally it's embarrassing to share it, but I mean, it's part of what led me to where I'm at now. Is I would take a forkful, I brought it up my mouth, and I could smell this, steamed broccoli and cauliflower, and it's a very pungent odor. And I'm like, I can do this. And I took a bite, and I'm like, yeah, I'm chewing on it, and I'm trying to swallow. I was struggling so much because I kind of had a gag reflex kick in, and my throat did not want to swallow it. And, so it's kind of like, and then I'm trying to force it, and I'm literally fighting with myself, trying my darndest to swallow this. And I gave up eventually. I could not swallow it because it was just my brain and my sense of taste was just fighting it so much. I literally could not swallow it. So it's a huge thing for me now to be able to rice cauliflower. I can steam it, I can rice it. I have a fabulous pizza crust that I use. I can take a handful of it or half a cup of it and add it to banana muffins, and they're fabulous. And I really enjoy it now. I probably still cannot eat straight raw cauliflower or worse yet, steamed cauliflower. I probably can't do it, but I can eat the other stuff.
Well, good for you. Good for you. So what was it like to start a YouTube channel? How do you go about doing that?
I ironically enough, you can YouTube search how to start a YouTube channel, and I found a really good teacher and signed up to understand everything from how to create the channel itself, how to do the backgrounds, and then each video, what an intro was, what an extra was, the pieces that you see at the beginning of your video, at the end of the video, and everything in between. I'm definitely still learning. There has been a lot to it, everything from editing video, realizing that you shot the video wrong. And so what you're trying to edit is not working out. So multiple times I've had to go back and reshoot the video in a different way. Editing the video, the sound, all the background, when to use music and just allow action to happen and not constantly narrating everything. But it's interesting because doing cooking videos is far different than doing instructional videos or entertainment. Some of the motivational things that I've done for On With the Butter are more like this, where we're talking and I'm sharing information. And I don't know, I on a cooking video, I definitely want to show more about the preparation and what's going on the food. And I don't want to have me sitting here saying, well, first off, you're going to peel your banana and then mash it up in a bowl and then stir it around. You don't want to hear me saying that. You want to see it, and you want to fast forward through all the boring parts. And so learning how to do that, and posting the videos, and then understanding to build an audience, you really want to post on a regular schedule. For me, that's going to be Wednesdays. Other people will post maybe twice a week. I think until we have a good following and a lot of people wanting more videos, I think once a week is going to work for me pretty well. And then just really understanding the feedback and asking for feedback. That is really so important, because if you have a lot of content out there and you're posting videos, but you're not getting likes and you're not getting comments and you're not getting subscribers, that tells you that you need to do something different. So kind of really taking that feedback and understanding how to use it to improve your videos is absolutely part of growing a successful channel.
Well, and when we were talking, you mentioned that sometimes you had to make things 4, 5, 6 times before you got it right. And so I guess the takeaway from that is, don't give up, keep trying. You're learning all the way through. So eventually it'll come out just the way you want it to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if it doesn't, maybe there's just a vegetable out there that will never taste good. I don't know. It could happen. I haven't played with all of them yet.
So this is your second cookbook, and so describe the process of putting together a cookbook.
The first thing really is to have the theme, and because I've talked to a number of other authors, and I've am a member of author groups here in South Dakota and also in Arizona. And I've talked to a lot of people who say, oh, I'd love to do a cookbook. I'd love to, what's the process? And truly the first thing to decide really is what kind of cookbook do you want to have? The first one that my mom and I did, we wanted to have it be Icelandic themed, classic Icelandic recipes, but converted so it's not in metric and they're using ingredients that are readily available at an American grocery store. So once you have a kind of like a core concept, then building around this. For this next one, I wanted to have it be incorporating hidden vegetables, but for adults. Because one thing that's out there a lot, you can go to bookstores or Amazon, you can find lots of cookbooks to hide vegetables in food for kids. Let's make our beans and weenies, or something like that, or making green monster muffins. There's a lot of things that are deliberately created to appeal to kids, but I wanted something a little more sophisticated because I already feel bad enough that I have the palate of a toddler. I don't want to actually eat like a toddler. So I want to eat things like a nice flavorful chicken enchilada. I want to eat beef bourguignon, but I want to, kick up the nutritional value of those. So taking some core recipes and enhancing them, it was really my focus. And I have a lot of cookbooks that I love and different people that I follow. And they always look fabulous, but there's such huge chunky vegetables there that I felt the need to alter it for my taste. And I think that passion really is part of the cookbook process. You have to be passionate about what your topic is, how you want to go about things, and then understanding, am I doing only breakfast food? Is this a cookbook just about muffins? Is it all things? And in the one that I'm working on, it's a little bit of breads and breakfast and main dishes and desserts and a little bit of everything. But if we wanted to, maybe a cookbook just on cakes or desserts. So understanding what the theme and where your passion is for that, or maybe you're passionate about everything and you want to do a series of cookbooks, because Betty Crocker's done a lot of that. You can have your Betty Crocker cookbook that's just about barbecue or just about appetizers or breads, yeast breads specific. And so you can do all kinds of things, which is fabulous, but you have to decide on what you're doing. Otherwise, it becomes really difficult to finish. I found that out when I was finishing my mom's book on her motivation of 93 new things when she was 93 years old. And she did pass away before she finished that book. So when I went to finish it, it was her words, her experiences, my thoughts on her experiences, how I learned from her. And I really made a mess of the book. And it wasn't until my developmental editor actually said, no, this is not working. Tear it apart, make one book that's just your mom's experiences and her words, and a completely separate book that is what you learned from her and your encouragement to other people. So sometimes less is more, and to understand what your core theme is, what you're going for, and then that makes the process so much easier, because when you clear out the clutter, then you can really focus on what your goal is and accomplish it.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thanks so much. We currently don't have any more questions out there. So if anybody's got a last minute question, please submit it now. And Heidi, this has been so good to see you, and glad you're healing well after your surgery. I'm looking forward to seeing your YouTube channels. I already looked at a couple of the videos, but I'm looking forward to the book, and I'll see whether or not I can actually eat a beet. Followed closely by Brussels sprouts. So
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, when you come up to Moorhead for the festival there, come find me and I will share some beetroot strawberry preserves with you. We'll get you set up. And I did want to say I have signed with an agent from the Talcott agency. So they are shopping the book proposal. As soon as we finalize a deal with the publisher, we will know when this new cookbook is coming out. We do not have a firm timeline on that right now, but we'll be able to share that. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the newsletter, I will share that information when it becomes available.
Perfect. And we have gotten a comment coming in that says, thanks, Heidi. I love veggies, but I need to hide them from my husband, and your recipes sound great. So
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
I think most people are in that boat. But thanks so much, Heidi, again for coming and joining us this evening. I do want to talk with people about just a few things that we've got coming up in the next month or so. Later this week, the INL convention starts in Banff, Alberta, starting on Thursday and going through Saturday. If you are attending, please look me up. There are going to be plenty of opportunities to see people and meet them. And since we're an online club, it'd be great to meet you face to face. Also, our next webinar will be on Tuesday, June 6th at 8 o'clock Eastern. Joining us will be Virginia Lordson. She's the president of the U.S. Icelandic Horse Congress. And she's going to be interviewed by Carrie Kazubo, and we will learn about the growing Icelandic horse industry in the U.S. And if you ever wanted to get into ices, this is your chance to learn all about it. So you'll really want to tune into this webinar. Again, Heidi, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who joined us this evening. Good night.
Thanks so much. It was great seeing you.